New glitch pilot just dropped. Yippee, hooray, a win for indie animation. However, if that was what we were talking about today, this video wouldn't exist because I don't think you need a random commentator to tell you that indie animation is cool. While this pilot got a ton of positive reception, it also got a very strange reaction from some people, and that's what we are going to be discussing today. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about fan service. Yeah, that's right, I have my own cool new TikTok takedown title card now. Also, to fit the theme of today's video, I'll be using Fold from Gameoverse as my avatar. Anyway, let's get on to the video. Let's start by laying down the groundwork, making sure we're all on the same page. What even is fan service? Fan service is essentially something added to a piece of media specifically to please the audience. In the context we're using it, however, we are going to be talking about sexual fan service, or something added to arouse the audience sexually. This is usually what people mean when they talk about fan service, however, I thought I'd make it clear what kind of fan service we're discussing anyway. So basically, people on TikTok think this pilot has a lot of fan service. We'll get more into the specific scenes being discussed later, but I just can't agree with this point of view. And to make this very clear, we will probably never know for sure whether these things are or aren't fan service, since fan service is specifically about the creator's intentions. However, we can use context within the pilot to assume whether or not these scenes were created for the audience to ogle at, or just because it's contextually relevant. It's also important to acknowledge that fan service is not inherently a moral failing. It can be considered bad writing in some scenarios, as fan service can distract from the plot or contradict the established theme or moral of a piece of media. However, there is nothing immoral about fan service on its own. Sexual arousal is not an immoral emotion, and it's not immoral to try and invoke that feeling from people in the same way you would with any other emotion. As long as the piece of media is targeted for adults, there's not really any issue. I do think it's perfectly valid to find fan service off-putting in a piece of media. However, whether or not Gameoverse has fan service doesn't make it lesser, especially with the scenes being called fan service being incredibly unobtrusive. However, again, I don't believe Gameoverse has any intentional fan service. Today we'll be looking at 3 TikToks that argue that it does, and responding to these TikToks. Let's start with a video by the user EverythingPomni.
Gameoverse review. I'd like to start off by saying that I thought the pilot episode and plot was cool.
The syntax are
but my issue with this show is the sexualization and fetishization of kit and misinformation.
Can you turn the background audio up? I can almost hear you.
They do.
I know people are going to hate on me for this tape, but hear me out. Firstly, this scene. It seems innocent at first. Just Kit's designs being shown off, but the jiggle physics made me uncomfortable, as this scene was clearly fanservice.
Yeah, so this scene is often cited in this discussion as a fan service scene, except the jiggle physics being discussed just aren't there. Like, seriously, I'll play this scene again. The boobs barely move.
Shouldn't we try to find out who the hero is, or the villain of this game world, since the syntax are here?
They're after us, Gobbles.
The only physics in this scene is in the hair and clothes. The boobs only move ever so slightly, but that's entirely realistic to human anatomy and barely noticeable. I'd even argue that they should have moved more, considering how large they are, for lack of a better way to phrase it. They could have easily gotten away with making the jiggle physics way more, but they didn't. And I feel like that says something about what their, priorities were with this scene, and it wasn't arousal. The reason why she bounces like that is more than likely referencing video game transformations, where the characters jump, bounce, or move in some way similarly, such as Ocarina of Time 3D, Mega Man NES games, or Alice Madness Returns. This is incredibly common in video games. No fucking shit, the show based on video games is going to include this kind of outfit transformation.
Comments under any video of Kit with this scene are always weird. This one is the worst by far.
Of course.
Yeah, so like, this just doesn't prove anything. Fans of a piece of media finding the show arousing doesn't make the show fan service. People find My Little Pony quite arousing if you go to a certain green site and look up the name of the show. That doesn't mean that it was intended to arouse the audience. Fan service is an intentional choice taken by the creators to give this kind of reaction. The reaction itself existing isn't proof on its own. There has to be obvious intent, which just doesn't exist in this show, in my opinion.
The second thing I'd like to show is this. In this fight scene coming up, we see two women get tied up or held down for the second and third time in the episode. If you have eyes, you can quite obviously see the sexual undertones in these moments.
Oh, you mean the villains were trying to stop the hero by restraining them? No fucking way. This must be some kind of weird kinky fan service. There's no way this would make any sense logistically. Also, she grunts like once, which is a completely normal reaction from physically struggling against something. I hate to be the one to tell you this, but I think you're the pervert here. This video kind of reeks of projection. Like, think about it. So far, they've complained about jiggle physics that you can barely see unless you're staring directly at the fucking tits, and scenes that you are interpreting as some kind of weird kinky BDSM shit when that's not supported at all in context. When I first sat down to watch this show for the very first time, I didn't take any of it sexually at all, except maybe Fold, but that's unrelated. Obviously, I can acknowledge when these characters are conventionally attractive, like I'm a sapphic with eyes, guys. Obviously, I know that Kit and Misinformation are attractive. However, that wasn't something that I dwelled on in any way. Like, yeah, these characters are attractive. Okay, that's like the least interesting thing about them. So when you take all of these interesting aspects of this pilot and these characters, and the first thing that you notice about all of it is boobs and ropes, I don't know what to tell you. Like, again, that is entirely the fattest fucking skill issue. Especially when you then try and claim that it's the show's fault that you felt this way. Like, no, that's all you.
And another woman in a bikini gets tied up 10 seconds later. That's the third time this has happened to them within the past couple minutes.
Right I am.
Just watch this scene and tell me I'm wrong. Weird, and unnecessary.
No fucking way. Now the hero is retaliating against the villain by trying to restrain her? There's no way. It must just be fan service. Also, this isn't in any of the videos I'm going to be covering today, but I thought I'd bring it up while it's relevant. I have heard people say that this scene is most likely fan service because she was specifically tied up, but Fold wasn't. Except Fold is a shapeshifter, so like he could easily shapeshift into that little origami crab that he was earlier and slip out of the ropes. It would do nothing, so it makes sense that she wouldn't even try.
As we come up to the next incident, please note that this only happens with the female characters, so that most of the females are given very over-exaggerated anatomy, with massive hips, micro-waists with big chests and thighs.
Sure, maybe if we ignore the fact that Fold has about the same sized waist as the women, then sure. But wait, there's someone I'm forgetting here, isn't there? You say that only the female characters have unrealistic body types, except... Are you fucking kidding me right now? So the women can't have slightly unrealistic body types on account for the fact that they're fucking cartoon characters, but this is perfectly passable? This doesn't even deserve a singular mention within this or any other video I've seen about this topic? A lot of the reason dumbasses virtue signal out fan service is that it's misogyny, yet a lot of these same people will ignore men with obviously over-exaggerated masculine body types to complain about a woman with kind of wide hips or something. That's more misogyny than anything these people are complaining about.
I do have hope that this show can redeem itself if they stop with the fan service.
Whoa, careful!
Helpless and tied up yet again.
Guys, my superhero show has physical conflict. This has to be Gooner bait.
She seems like such a diva.
You're nothing without your little backpack friend, aren't you?
I'm pretty sure they are referring to what Fold is saying here because there's no text-to-speech, which implies that you're meant to be focusing on what he's saying. Oh my fucking god. You are a fucking pervert. Like, what else is there to say? You don't see the villain making fun of the hero and calling the hero, like, useless, basically, and your first thought is, this must be some kind of degradation fan service. What the fuck? What the fuck are you on about? This video is so fucking insane. I genuinely have no clue how someone gets to this level of projection and doesn't notice. Like, Jesus Christ. If anything is fan service here, it's this walk, cause why was he doing all that?
How would you know?
Oh my gosh, it's almost found us.
How now?
She could easily get out of that.
How do you know that? These things are clearly very strong if they can hold down a grown woman. There's no reason to believe that she has the ability to get out of this situation. Also, even if she could, what if she's frozen in fear? Is that not an extremely understandable possibility? And that's basically the end of the first video. The second video is from a user called NekoCatCult, which...
Chai means tea, bro. You're saying tea. Would I ask you for a coffee with room for cream?
But whatever. Point is, they also made a video talking about the horrendous amount of fan service this pilot has, and yeah, let's just get into it.
Gameoverse has way too much fan service on the women, it's unbearable. I get it, a beach-themed episode, put the characters in swimwear, but all the girls are in super-duper tiny bikinis.
These are super-duper tiny bikinis to you? You know what a bikini is, right? This is basically just a normal fucking bikini. Hell, Kid is basically just wearing a sports bra with a hole in the back. What is immodest about this swimwear?
And the guys' designs don't change?
Because they don't wear clothes. Like, sure, they could have given them swim trunks or something, but like, the fact that they didn't doesn't mean it's fan service. This inconsistency is very easily explained by just, they don't wear clothes normally, so why would they wear clothes now?
Not to mention that the two main female characters have basically the same curvy body type, despite the fact that all the guys are vastly different and identifiable.
Well, yeah, obviously the fucking humans are going to look similar while the J-Schlatt orb, the piece of fucking paper, and a dinosaur are going to look wildly different. Kit and Misinformation also do have slightly different body types. Misinformation has different shaped boobs, a longer torso, and slightly wider hips. Kit looks more like a literal hourglass, while Misinformation has a bit of space in between, if that makes sense. If you want to argue that there should be more body type diversity in this show, that's fine. I think that's perfectly valid. However, it's not fan service. Those two things are incredibly different.
It's just something I'm picking up on is going to be an issue, considering that even Kit's outfit flick-through was incredibly revealing.
Revealing clothes aren't inherently sexual. It just looks appealing sometimes. Like, you know, from an aesthetic standpoint. And obviously it doesn't look like a realistic cowgirl, it's a damn costume. And similarly to the last video, you can accept a shirtless man with giant muscles, a talking dolphin that randomly grows giant muscles, people being able to talk underwater, and a sentient piece of paper, but a cowgirl showing her stomach is crossing the line? Come the hell on.
I just hope that they start to lower down the fan service on the girls,
But the man with comically giant muscles is just fine.
because them all being the skinny curvy girl with a different wig on is horrific design.
These characters clearly have differences other than their hair, though. Skin tone, outfits, one is a fucking cat girl, one has lipstick, like, come the hell on. Also, I find it interesting how this person is trying to make it sound like body type is so important in character design, which it is, but they're going as far as to ignore other aspects of their design to claim that they looked almost the same because of the similar body types. Glitch is the evil one for making women look conventionally attractive, but it's totally fine for people to ignore all the unique aspects of these female characters just to focus on their bodies. Yup, this makes sense.
And note, none of this is me saying your characters have to cover up at all times, but when you're clearly sexualizing your female cast in the same way whilst all your male cast gets a unique body type, that's weird AF.
Except you are saying they have to cover up, because half of your damn argument was complaining about a woman being in swimwear. It's also important to acknowledge that this is a pilot. We could get a ton more unique female characters down the line. It's unfair to judge an entire show's cast based on its pilot episode, when the entire point of this show is seemingly going to be them going through unique worlds and meeting new characters. The next video we're going to be discussing is from a well-known fellow known as Danny Motta. You know we're all cooked when Danny fucking Motta has a shit take on a cartoon, but here the fuck we are. Let's do this.
People saying Gameoverse has no fan service in it must either be children or completely lacking in media literacy. The arguments surrounding this show are so weird, I can't believe this isn't something everybody universally agrees upon. Some people are like, there's no fan service in Gameoverse. A woman wearing a bikini isn't inherently sexual. And I agree with that. Curvy women exist, they do go to the beach, and them wearing a swimsuit shouldn't be perceived as inherently sexual on its own. But like, guys, there is fan service in this show, and that's okay. Misinformation shows up to this fight, gets bola'd, and not only is this not like played for laughs, but it's so unrelated to the plot that she just gets out of the trap off screen and it doesn't affect anything.
Except it literally is related to the plot, because it was the hero attempting to restrain the villain. Just because it didn't work very well doesn't mean it's fan service, or that it's unrelated to the plot. There was a very clear and obvious plot-related reason why she was restrained, aka, it's plot relevant. I don't necessarily take that much issue with his belief that this show is fan service. I disagree with him, don't get me wrong, and I think his arguments are a bit weak, don't get me wrong. However, what bothers me the most about this video is the fact that he says it so pretentiously. He says it like he is objectively correct and anyone who disagrees with him must either be stupid or a child. And again, this is a respectable member of online cartoon discussion spaces. What happened here?
And the reason I think most people that are engaging in this discussion are children is because I've seen a lot of people bring this moment up and be like, just because you have a rope fetish doesn't mean the moment is fan service. Ah, yes, because restraints suddenly mean everything is sexual and it's fan service. Got it. Jesus Christ, this is more misogynistic than actual fan service, and it reveals more about you, not a good look dude. This is like saying just because not everybody has a foot fetish, Tarantino's feet scenes aren't egregious. Like, they know what they're doing, guys!
Okay, except you have to have substantial evidence to prove that it was done on purpose. The point that these people are making when they say this is that there is no substantial evidence that this is fetish content. Therefore, the people claiming it is are simply projecting their own feelings onto the content. If there was substantial evidence that proved this, people wouldn't be saying this because, you know, it wouldn't hold up because the evidence of it being fetish content is incredibly strong regardless of your views on this fetish or your personal feelings and interests. This is all about assumptions versus evidence. If there is substantial evidence that something is fetish content, then it's fetish content. If there isn't, then that might just be a you thing. Also, what does this actually have to do with the people criticizing the idea that there's fan service being children? That's just kind of something you assert and then don't give any good reason to believe. I'm going on 19 and yet I think this logic is fucking stupid. What are you gonna say now? It just feels like he's trying to discredit the people who disagree with him, and honestly, it feels so out of character for him.
Every female character being attractive and curvy is on purpose. Like, they didn't accidentally do this.
There could be other reasons why they made the characters look like this, though. One, a lot of women in video games have these sorts of body types, so it fits the aesthetic they're going for. Two, hourglass body types have quite strong shape language. 3. They wanted to play it safe by making all the female characters look as conventionally appealing as possible. Don't get me wrong, I don't think these reasons are good necessarily. However, you know, regardless of how woke it is, it's kind of important to acknowledge that there could have been other reasons for this choice with the character designs. Like, they're bad reasons, but they're still reasons. Guys, sit tight, we're gonna get to my favorite part of this entire video. It's so bad.
It's like, her being curvy and in a bikini is not fan service. He doesn't have to be a torpedo, though.
Oh, okay. So a curvy woman in a bikini using a mode of transportation you deem suggestive, despite it literally not being, is fan service. Really making yourself sound a lot better here. You're one of the good ones, Danny. This is genuinely the same fucking logic as the people who say that a woman putting her hair up is sexual. Like, genuinely, we are at this fucking level. I assume the point being made is that she's straddling him and that's sexual, I guess? I don't fucking know. This is such bullshit. But it gets worse. It gets so much worse.
He could be like a submarine she stands inside of, or like a chair she sits on with propellers.
Get off that torpedo, you whore. Sit ladylike in a chair instead, or perhaps just stand in a submarine to avoid giving the fans impure thoughts. Like, Danny, you understand how this sounds, right? You are sexualizing a woman sitting on a torpedo. Like, okay, do I believe Danny Motta is sexist? Obviously not. Do I think he sounds school principal levels of sexist right now? Yeah, kind of. Like, I'm not sure if he just has had such an echo chamber of people praising his takes that he just started saying shit without using his brain, or if he genuinely, within the deepest parts of his heart and soul, think it's normal to sexualize a woman for sitting on a torpedo during an underwater transportation scene. And by the way, his other suggestions are fucking stupid. A submarine would be too large to remain unspotted, too difficult to get in and out of, and fold is origami. He can't turn into glass unless there would just be a bunch of holes where the windows would be, which at that point just be the fucking torpedo. And the chair idea is almost worse. Are you seriously going to say with a straight face that that would be better than the torpedo? Are you serious? A fucking chair? They're underwater. Obviously, the transportation device is going to be underwater themed. Like, seriously, look at the other things that Fold transforms into. A crab, an anchor. There's a theme going on here if you couldn't fucking tell.
Like, it's marketing. They know people like drawing shit like this. People already have been drawing a bunch of shit about this. It's on purpose.
You've given us no reason to believe that. You're just asserting that they know what they're doing after giving the most bullshit reasons ever that don't actually prove anything.
Ross knows what he's doing. He likes drawing sexy cartoon girls. That's okay.
Someone drawing sexy cartoon girls because they enjoy doing so isn't fan service. That's actually kind of the opposite of fan service. That's self-indulgent. This proves jack shit.
I think the reason people want to be like, this show doesn't have any fan service, you're all just weirdos, is because they don't want to be called a weirdo if they end up liking this show. Like, if this show ends up getting labeled as, like, Glitch's fan service extravaganza, then people are gonna be embarrassed to watch it because they think people will call them pervs.
Or, hear me out here, okay? Listen closely. Because people are using stupid and even sexist logic to call this show fan service. Maybe that is why people are denying that it's fan service. I want you guys to look me in my gay, stupid eyes when I tell you I don't care about being labeled a pervert. Like, I really don't. I mean, hell, this is unrelated to what I wrote in the script, but during the creation of this video, I literally made a porn account on Blue Sky. Like, let's be so for real here. But the point is, it bothers me when people say that this show is objectively fan service, not because I have an issue with fan service or enjoying pieces of media that are considered fan service, but because I do not believe there is enough evidence to concretely say that it is fan service. It is that simple, and I'm sure it's that simple for a lot of the other people criticizing you and other people who say this. And I'm skipping the rest of this because he debunks a point about this show being a critique of fan service, which I mostly agree with. The show has given us no reason to believe it is a critique of fan service. So, what are my final thoughts? This show isn't fan service, at least it's given me no reason to believe it is. Curvy women in bikinis are not fan service. Even when they're sitting on a torpedo? Yes, Danny Motta, even when they're sitting on a torpedo. Women getting restrained is not fan service. Women having similar body types are not fan service. And if you want to claim that these things are fan service, I better also see you talk about the giant shirtless man with huge muscles and man boobs. Because remember, none of these videos thought to mention that. Even in passing, they only care about the women with slightly unrealistic body types wearing regular-looking bikinis who occasionally get restrained when it's contextually relevant. Nobody questions why Warwick had to have this unrealistically masculine body type. Nobody questions what possible intentions the creators could have had to give him revealing clothing. They just accept it because they only care when women are immodest. If this video did not convince you that this show is not fan service, that's fine. I feel like this is one of those topics where reasonable people could disagree. However, at the very least, I hope it maybe gave you some more insight on the other side of the discussion, or something like that. All I ask is that if you go around arguing that this show is fan service, at the very least, know what fan service actually is. Don't just call anything that looks kind of sexy fan service, because fan service implies specific intent to arouse the audience. Just because the audience got aroused doesn't mean it's fan service. Just because you got aroused doesn't mean it's fan service. Just because the characters look objectively, conventionally attractive doesn't mean it's fan service. If you want to argue that these people may have had this intention when designing this or this or this or creating this scene, that's fine. But you need to acknowledge that that is a personal opinion that doesn't really have that much evidence to, support it. You can believe that, it is a possibility, however, it's not something that you should be claiming so confidently. This is something that reasonable people could easily disagree on. At the end of the day, this is really just opinions and assumptions. There has been so many times in internet history when people have accused others of either having fetishes or drawing sexual work or whatever when there's no real good evidence of that. Like, hell, it's happened to me a good handful of times. It's happened to Boyfish, Aeroseek, if you remember that. People accused them of being a Shotokan when the evidence of that was shaky at best. And because of all these things that I've witnessed and experienced, it really makes me extremely, wary to just call shit sexual for no real reason. Like, obviously, I am very sex positive. I believe that you have every right to draw your weird fetish art, you have every right to, see things in a sexual way. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that if it's not hurting anyone or pushing anyone's boundaries. However, that doesn't mean you get to make it other people's problem when you see something in a dirty way and then get mad at it for that. Like, you would think that people who are total prudes, who think this kind of content is fucking disgusting and immoral, wouldn't be constantly looking for sex in everything they watch to the point where they claim things are fan service when there is no real intent that can be proven. Like, you'd think these people wouldn't be doing that and would instead focus on fucking, I don't know, what are prudes supposed to be doing in their free time instead of looking at boobs? Go to Bible study? Like, genuinely, imagine if I started going to pieces of media and claiming that these very innocuous things were actually references to super, niche fetishes. Like, I just point to something and I'm like, this is actually, a reference to the, circle fetish. Look at how much circles this character has. This is clearly some kind of, fetish work for this, tag on Rule 34 that has, 3 drawings. Like, you guys would look at me like I'm fucking insane. That's what this feels like. Obviously, I'm being hyperbolic, because, the fetishes being referenced in, these videos are very much, more mainstream than what I'm joking about, but you get the point. I'm making a joke, okay? It doesn't have to be one-to-one comparison. But yeah, all jokes aside, all rambling aside, believe what you want. I don't really care, but just know that if you believe this show is fan service, there isn't a lot of evidence to support that. That doesn't mean there's 100% chance that you're wrong, just that we don't have enough evidence yet to fully say that, and therefore, if you believe that, you shouldn't be parading it around like everyone who disagrees with you is some kind of stupid, media illiterate child, because it is very easy to see that there isn't a lot of evidence for this. You can believe it, just know it's basically just an opinion based on a vague interpretation of a singular pilot. Like, there's not much going for you there. Well, this was TikTok Takedown Part 4. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.